Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all had a happy holidays and a happy new year. I'm bringing in the new year with a new review for Return to Dark Tower. Return to Dark Tower is a 1 to 4 player cooperative game that also plays competitively. It is a sequel to the 1981 board game of the same name. Well, the 1981 version is called Dark Tower. So this game is app-based. So because it's app-based, I can't really show you how to play because it requires the app. But I'm going to be doing pretty much a small playthrough of like what goes on and how to play. Again, I can't show you everything because it's on the app. There are some really good how to play videos out there that you can check out that'll show you how to play this game and how the app works. Of course, I use my phone to record, so unfortunately I can't show you that. So let me just give you a quick rundown of how to play, and then I'm going to let you know what I think. Okay, so the way this game is going to work is you're going to open up the app and you're going to choose which boss you want to fight. You're going to choose the enemies that you want to fight. And of course, the app is going to connect to this tower. You're going to choose a hero. And now, depending on where you go in these provinces, they're going to have a special ability for being in that province. And also, your heroes have their own special abilities that you can unlock during the game. So, in each province, you're going to have these buildings. You're going to have a citadel, a sanctuary, a village, and a bazaar. I'm not going to go over what each of them do, but some of them help remove corruption. Some of them help you get more items, more warriors. I'll go over what corruption is later. So the way you win this game is each boss is going to have its own goal. So sometimes it could be get a certain amount of treasure, or defeat a certain amount of enemies, or get a certain, sometimes they want you to get a certain ally to accompany you. It changes every game. And once you do that, you're going to go to the tower and the final boss is going to appear out of the tower and you have to kill that final boss. So the way you lose this game is either you get too many of your buildings get destroyed, or you get 3 corruption. Now, the way you get corruption cards, you can only fit 2. So if you get a 3rd corruption, then your whole team loses the game. Now, the way you get corruption is either by failing certain quests or failing to defeat enemies. Now, the enemies in this game are going to be represented by these pogs, but you can buy this miniature expansion, which I did. I actually kind of prefer instead of having the pogs on the map here. So this is a little bit extra. This is about costs you maybe 50-60 bucks, but I think it's worth it. So anyway, throughout the game, you're going to be going around fighting enemies, doing different quests and dungeons, and again trying to meet your goal to defeat the final boss. I'm just gonna go over how the dungeons and combat work, and then I'm just gonna go into the final review. Again, there's some, like I stated before, there's some really good how to play videos of showing how to play this game. I don't want to go over everything. So when you fight an enemy, now the reason you want to get rid of these enemies is because if there's too many of them on the map, and depending on what kind of enemy it is, they can do damage to your buildings and force you to gain corruption. So when you fight an enemy, so this is a pretty weak enemy. This is a 2. So you go into the space with that enemy and you would click battle on the app, choose the enemy that you're fighting, and it's going to show all these cards. Now there's a push your luck element on when it comes to combat, and this actually also goes for the dungeons as well. So you're going to choose 2 cards at random, and they're each going to give you a certain thing you have to fulfill. Most of the time, it's just going to say like give up 6 warriors and maybe 2 spirit. If you look on the pogs here and also on the enemy cards, they're going to show a weakness that they have. So this one's melee and undead. On your character here, they're going to have certain advantages. So this guy, the Relic Hunter, has a humanoid advantage. The Warlord here has a melee advantage. So now the Warlord can use his advantage against the Auric. Now what that does is you'll have a certain amount of advantages that you can spend during combat, and this will make the goal a little bit cheaper. So instead of spending like 6 warriors, you'll say, oh, spend only 3. And so it'll make it a little bit easier to remove the enemies from the map. Now the same thing goes for the dungeons. As you are traversing through the dungeons, it's going to tell you to lose a certain amount of warriors or lose a certain amount of items. Now the dungeons will appear differently on every day, and sometimes they'll give you gear, sometimes they'll give you allies. Again, it's going to change every game. At the end of your turn, you're going to drop a skull on the top of this tower. Sometimes something will come out, and sometimes it won't. Sometimes it'll give you an event on your phone, or it can trigger a certain event or a certain enemy. Now, depending on where the skull comes out, if it comes out on your province, then you're gonna have to put a skull on one of your buildings, and you're gonna choose which building you're gonna put it on. When if the 4 skulls go onto the buildings, then they get destroyed. So you're pretty much gonna be doing this until there's a certain amount. If you run out of certain days, then you fail the game, or if somebody gets too many corruption, or you win the game. So it's pretty simple. The rules are very straightforward. I think the rule book does a really good job. So that's just a rundown of how the game works. Now I'm going to let you know what I think. Okay, so first I'm going to tell you what I like about this game. Obviously, the components. This tower is one of the coolest things I have ever seen. Is it a gimmick? Kinda, but it's a really cool gimmick. It works very well with the app. I haven't had any problems with the app at all. Everything runs very smoothly. Tower is really well built. It's definitely one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a board game before. Miniatures, like I said, they're really good. I have a really good wash on them. Even the pods, they have some really good art on it. If you don't get the enemy miniature expansion for it, these will suffice just as well. Another thing I really like about this is cooperation is a must. So one thing about cooperative games is I always like that, you need to work together to beat this game, and it really focuses on that. Sometimes you'll have a dungeon appear in somebody else's province, but you have a better chance of getting through it than somebody else. So you really have to work together, traversing through the different provinces, fight who's going to fight which enemy, who wants to take the corruption. I like that it has a focus on that, and that the game is going to be played different every single time. You get to choose which enemies you want to fight, which bosses you want to fight as well. So it's gonna be, every game is different. I will say this though, I'm hearing a lot of people think that it's too easy. I have yet to win one game. The first time we played, I did get to the final boss, but we lost at the last second. So I don't know, maybe it's me or the group I'm playing with, but we have not won a game yet. Like I said, the game is growing. There's one expansion out right now, and another expansion that's coming next year, this year. But yeah, the game is a ton of fun. The only thing I must say that I dislike is, one, it's very expensive. You're going to spend about $150, $170 for this game. It's not a cheap game at all. I got it on Kickstarter, so I only spent like about $100. But it's good for retail. It's a very expensive game. And the thing that I dislike the most is that the combat just doesn't feel thematic enough. Like, I just don't feel like I'm fighting any enemies. The whole push your luck, spending warriors thing, it's not bad. I still have a great time with this game, but it just doesn't feel, I want it to feel more like combat. Like, I feel that whole push your luck, spending warriors, and having, a certain amount of items is more for like maybe traversing through a dungeon or a quest. If I'm going to fight an enemy, I would, I'd rather prefer like to roll a dice or maybe use certain cards or something. But again, it's not that big of a deal. Overall, I'm giving this game a 9 out of 10. It is one of the best cooperative games I've ever played. It's a game that probably will never leave my collection. I'm looking forward to more of the expansions coming out. Yeah, I know it is expensive, but I still think if you are a fan of, these type of games, these cooperative games, or like fantasy dungeon type games, then this is an easy pickup. It's definitely worth the money. But that's going to do it. So that's the first review of 2023. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. I'll also leave my email in the description section as well. If you ever want to have any inquiries or anything. If you want to know more about this game, more about this channel, feel free to email me. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. But that's going to do it for today, folks. Yeah, 9 out of 10. Excellent cooperative game. I hope you guys have a great new year. Until next time, have a great time, guys.